And now a word from Premium Edition Games. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Premium Interviews. I'm your host, Barry from Premium Edition Games, and today I'm joined by two very special guests. Let me introduce Eric Lavison
Hello.
and Matthias Andersson.
Hey.
These two fine gentlemen are December Born Interactive, and you may not know that name right this second, but you really should. They are the fine developers of a small little game that we happen to really love here called Cathedral. And we're just going to sit here and talk a little bit about Cathedral just to get everybody up to speed on how amazing this game is. But first, I think introductions should really be taken into account. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background?
Sure thing. So my name is Eric. I founded December Born in, I don't know, 6 years ago or something like that. 6 or 7 years ago. And started working on Cathedral. I am a programmer by trade. So Cathedral was pretty much just something I did in my spare time. December Born wasn't really anything I know. I never intended to sell the game. I just intended to build something from scratch for fun, basically. So works together with Matthias, both in December Born and in other companies. My day job. Plus, we actually, one guy who isn't here today, Aki Salem, who is our CEO, who isn't who's also part of the company where we work, our day job. So we're actually three guys who work pretty close together right now, who are involved in the same company. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm Matthias Andersson. Also a part of December Born since, I don't know, 4 years ago or something.
Something
I
like
don't
that.
remember exactly, but yeah, I'm also a programmer, and I'm, as Eric said, work with Eric at my daytime job, also together with our CEO, Ake.
That's great. So, do you do that for your day job? Are you also like game designers, or is this just a hobby you decided let's just pick up and have fun?
I mean, game development started out as a hobby and nothing more. There wasn't really any plans to sell anything. There wasn't really any plans to even finish the game, to be honest. So this was kind of fun down the line where we realized that we probably should have more structure in things. But I mean, we kind of had an anything goes policy in the beginning. So. But we do spend some amount of time on our day jobs doing this as well. Not a huge amount, but there are some synergy in there. But for the most part, we actually work with, I don't know, what would you call it? App and service development?
Yeah, web development and application development, yeah.
Yeah, so more classic software development. We work with Payslip software is one of our companies, which sounds less interesting than game design, but it's actually a surprisingly interesting thing to work with. But yeah, so we definitely do most of our game design on the side, but some of it during office hours too.
That's great though, because that really just shows it's a passion project, and you can absolutely tell. What I want to know is, how did Cathedral come about? I mean, you're just doing this game for fun, but where did the inspiration come from for you to do this 8-bit Metroid Zelda style adventure?
Well, you mentioned quite a lot of the influence right there, like Zelda and Metroid, of course, especially Zelda 2, I'd say. I'm one of those weird people who loved Zelda 2. I liked it more than the first one.
It's great.
Yeah, it is, right?
I love it.
But I remember having friends who hated it because the first one was the really good one, they said. And I don't know. I played the second one first, I think. But yeah, so I mean, I think that we just grew up with a lot of these games. Both Matthias and I are born early 80s, so I mean, we had NESs growing up. We played a lot of these games, and I think we had a lot of the same influences for the most part. I played a lot of Wizard and Warriors, stuff like that as well, which also influenced it to some degree. My brother had a Sega Master System, and he had what's it called? Dragon's Trap, Wonder Boy 3, Dragon's Trap, which I always loved that game. So I actually used that as a bit of inspiration as well. I mean, leaving something out, Matthias, you probably had some inspiration that.
Yeah, of course. There's many
I haven't
games.
even mentioned Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid, of course, and Castlevania, and Mega Man, but it's called Rocket Man in the US.
No,
Mega Man Japan.
no,
Mega
that's
Man.
in Japan.
Okay, so it's Mega Man.
It is Mega Man in the US, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. But that's a really good game as well. I like that.
Yeah. You know, when you said Castlevania, those hawks you put in the water level really make a lot more sense now.
But we have
the hawks
we
are
have
fair.
What do you say?
The hawks are fair. Castlevania is not fair all the time.
No, that jump arc is very unforgiving.
Especially the jump. You're just so committed when you have jumped.
That's that's great. You know, all those games are all classics. So to see, how you get Cathedral out of it, which is like, this like merging of all these great ideas, just really, I think adds to it, especially going through the game and seeing a lot of those influences. But since you're doing this more as a hobby to start off as an extra thing programming, what challenges did you face when developing this game?
I think one of the major challenges was finishing it and finding the time and the energy to finish it. I mean, even when you had the time, you didn't always have the energy to continue working on it. For the most part, it was fun, and that's why I started working on it, because it was something I enjoyed. But there was definitely periods of time where I just didn't enjoy working on it because I had burned myself out working too much on it, and at times it just didn't happen anything for long periods of time, I think.
And you were alone as well, as a developer, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, at the very first, at first I was doing everything. I was doing all the pixel art. I did some of the music, none of the music in the game. I did all of the programming, and I wrote the engine from scratch. And keep in mind, I really don't know how to draw, so it wasn't very good. So I met Aaron. Aaron was an early co-founder who did the music for the game. So he's not part of the company anymore, but he made all of the tunes, and that's helped a bit when you had someone to just bounce ideas off of. And then we ended up, that's a year or two into the process. I think we were going to Poland for a game conference.
Yeah, exactly. Poznan Game Arena.
And I think we were feeling kind of outnumbered when we were going there, because it was me, Aaron, and Ake, and we realized that wouldn't be enough, since we were going to have to stand in the booth all day, and we were going to have the energy to stand there from morning to evening, like 3 days in a row or something. So we asked you to come along as well. You didn't really work on the game back then.
No, not at all, actually. Though every morning at our daytime job, you showed me new features and I tried them and I gave feedback and ideas.
Right. Yeah,
But I
exactly.
haven't started working on the game at that point.
Oh man, right. Yeah, I just showed you stuff every morning. I had forgotten. And then I think after Poznan, you just, I don't know, started working on the game somehow.
Yeah, but I heard you guys were really tired of working on the game, and I was like, oh, this game has
Oh
to
yeah,
continue work. Yeah,
that's actually one
so I
thing.
actually offered my help, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's. I have to say that before. Sorry if I interrupted you.
no.
Just have to say that because the game wouldn't have come out if Matthias hadn't joined. Not a chance, because I was pretty much done with it back then, actually. I think
Oh
that's
wow.
why you offered your help.
Mm.
Well, thank you, Mateus, for sure for stepping in, because
No problem.
depriving the world of this amazing title would be a crime.
Yeah.
That's certainly something, lack of time and energy, of course, and I think that's something relatable with all of us, especially when you're dealing with a passion project. So how does it feel now? Like the game is done, it's out, and now the physical is coming out. What is that like from your perspective?
It,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I mean, it's unreal.
It's amazing for me.
I think we've gone through this weird adjustments all the time. Like I remember when we set up the Steam page. I'm like, wow, it's so cool. We have a Steam page. I mean, now it doesn't seem all that cool. And we had this dream, like maybe one day we can release on a Nintendo console. And I remember that we tried to get dev kits fairly early on, and they gave us a vague answer that basically boiled down to maybe if you show us a bit more in the future, we might consider it. I mean, we basically showed them ideas from a half-finished game, and so it's kind of understandable that we didn't get dev kits, and then we tried again when the game was released, and we actually got access. And that was really cool when we released for Nintendo as well. And we were like, yeah, it doesn't get any better than this. We're done now. I mean, what else is there to do with the game? And then you guys contacted us, or we got in contact with you guys through, I think, through our digital publisher. And
Yeah.
and we realized that, well, of course, we hadn't. I mean, we had thought about the idea of doing a physical, but it just seemed so far off. It didn't seem like it was within our reach at all. So, like, yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. So, yeah, but now here we are.
Yeah, now here we are. The dream is a reality. People right now as we speak are purchasing your title physically and as well as digitally. That's just, I can't imagine what that's like, but I'm really like happy that we could help facilitate that for sure. You did mention, Steam and Nintendo. What was it like with doing? Obviously, you're doing this as a passion project, but working with the different platforms. Steam, PS4, like, Switch. What was it like going between them and porting and all that stuff? And
Yeah, we've had a few interesting hacking nights.
Yes, we've had.
I mean, first of all, we didn't use any existing engine for Cathedral. So we didn't use Unity or any of the existing ones. We decided to write one from scratch for some stupid reason. And one of the things that Unity does really well, for instance, is help you port your game to different platforms. So I was actually kind of afraid when we were waiting for the dev kits that I wonder what I've gotten myself into. And I remember that we tried to set it up and compiled the engine, or no, we definitely didn't, but we tried to compile the engine. and we
Oh.
got thousands of errors.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think I
Literally
have a
thousands.
picture on that actually.
Yeah. You have to see if you can
I'll
find that
post
later.
it on Twitter someday.
Yeah, I know that you started documenting it when we connected the dev kit and started trying to figure things out. It was a bit of an effort, but it wasn't too bad.
Oh.
I mean, I think that we treated it pretty much as we did with different PCs. So we have released it for OS X, we have released it for Windows, and we have released it for Linux. So on all of those platforms, we had to kind of handle some of the things differently. And luckily, it's mostly the same things you have to handle differently. So it's, I mean, things such as controller input, that became a bit more work on consoles. But other than that, I mean, we kind of knew that consoles will need different code for input, for sound, for rendering, and all of these things. So
Yeah, save files.
yeah, exactly. Don't get me started on save file. I think it's like 95% of the engine is shared between all platforms, or something like
Wow.
that. It's a huge part of the code is the same everywhere. And then we have these small subsystems that we just rewritten for every part of, like, every console and every operating system, basically. So it hasn't been too bad. It was actually, I don't know, easier than I dreaded, but still not without challenges.
But yeah, exactly. Because when we got the Cathedral running the first time on Switch, it was massive load times between levels. And we were like, oh no, the Switch isn't strong enough.
That was horrible. Yeah. So you know
Yeah,
when
but now, I mean, now the game is like 60 FPS the entire
Yeah.
game.
you know when you run from one screen to another
Yeah.
in the game, we actually load the entire level when you hit the edge of the screen and just kind of replace it in memory. And I think on Linux, our slowest time was like 50 milliseconds to load a level with maybe 5,000 tiles or something. And on Switch, the first time we got it running and we hit the edge of the screen, we said, "Oh, the game froze. Something is wrong." And then after a while, it started scrolling. 11
I think
seconds.
it was 11 seconds.
Oh my
That
God.
was the first level, and that one is really
Yeah.
fast.
We can't release. We can't release.
Yeah, we were actually kind of, oh man, even if we optimize everything we can, this is not going to run smoothly.
Well, thankfully you worked your magic because it runs amazing on the Switch right now. Like I didn't notice any of that lag, and you go through so many screens while playing and while backtracking, and I don't know what I would do if it was that long. Like you'd be like, do I really want to go back there? It's just
Yeah,
for
exactly.
I don't know if
Yeah, it
it's
would
worth
have
my
been
time.
horrible. No, I think we found a few nice things that we could do to improve things, and we ended up getting it down to I think roughly the same as PC, more or less, and getting the FPS up to 60 almost across the board. I think in docked mode, I don't think I've ever seen it dip below 60 FPS. In handheld, it can dip down towards 40 FPS or so, but it's definitely not slow in any way.
Yeah, I played it in docked and I never had an issue at all. It ran smoothly from beginning to end. And especially some of those boss battles. I mean, you got some challenging battles in there where, you need to be fast with the reflexes. So slowdown could kill you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Speaking
it
of boss
could.
battles, how is that like designing these boss battles? Because they're really creative, and some of them take you outside the box, like the dragon battle. Like you have to, you can't just attack. You have to do, special stuff, and definitely, oh, now I can't think. The conduit. The conduit is a really interesting outside the box, battle. How is it like creating these?
I think that's probably the most fun we had in the game.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the conduit wasn't actually a planned boss, right?
No, you actually surprised me with that one. And then I spent 2 hours fighting him.
Yeah, he took me a while too. It was
Yeah,
like
I have
always
a-
like so close.
I have a video of when you finally destroy the conduit. Like
yeah, where I
have a
bashed for a...
video of you playing it.
Yeah, true.
And you just slam the table all you can.
Yeah.
I look proud.
I mean, you definitely have bosses where you're probably going to take multiple tries and you really have to learn these patterns. I think that speaks a lot to the more competitive gamers out there. But you also you seem to find a balance where it's not too tough. Like at first it may seem impossible when you first encounter a boss, but the more you think about it and learn the patterns, a lot of them boil down to, quite simple. It's easy to figure out what to do, then it's just executing it that could be the problem.
I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what we want.
Going for.
Yeah.
It's yeah, definitely. I think we've been surprised sometimes that I think most people seem to kind of get stuck on the necromancer when they get to that boss for the first time.
Oh yeah, the first time I saw him, I was like, how the heck is this even possible?
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of love that feeling that you're describing myself, where you get to a boss and it just not a chance. This is not going to work. And then you start figuring it out, and then after a while, you kind of see the patterns and you just react without thinking, and then it's not all that hard. And the Necromancer is actually one of those bosses that we made him basically telegraph all of his attacks in a very... when you start paying attention, you can see that there are some very obvious signs of what he's going to do next. Like when he's going to jump up on a wall, he's actually pointing towards the wall and stuff like that. And I think it's kind of the rage quit boss for a lot of people. But I think we've always said that as soon as someone has come past that boss, then they almost always seem to finish the game.
Yeah, it definitely. I wouldn't say that gets easier from there, because it certainly doesn't, and I wouldn't count him as the hardest boss at all. There's certainly more challenging ones in the future, and I like how none of them are repeats. They all have a little gimmick, but well, I shouldn't say they're all repeats. I mean, the gargoyles are kind of
the gargoyles are definitely repeats.
They're repeats. But outside the gargoyles, like they all have their own unique gimmicks, which add a lot of flavor. And I liked how you incorporated the Zelda aspect of like, oh, you get an item in the dungeon, and then you can use that to assist you on the boss. Like the water boss, for example, you use that item, and you have to move the like the spear, the harpoon. And it's like, that was like, what do I do here? I don't get, and like once it clicked, I'm like, this is ingenious. So I gotta give you credit for that. The boss designs are just out of this world.
Thank you.
Go on.
I was thinking about that magnet now that you mentioned, and do you remember that we added that kind of last minute, Matthias?
Oh yes.
Like,
wouldn't it be fun with a magnet? Yes, it would.
There's some interesting challenges with the magnet.
Yeah, I think we had the other items down, and we designed a lot of the world around it, and we just kind of couldn't figure out what to do for that dungeon. Like we had decided that we wanted the dungeon in the last dungeon to have the gun and stuff like that, but we just kind of had a in our inventory, like something needs to go here and needs to be fun. We don't know what.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just said that, like, wouldn't it be fun with a magnet?
Yeah. But I think we designed a lot of the Sunken Temple before we added the magnet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went back and redesigned and added the puzzles in.
Yeah.
We actually went back and added puzzle in earlier in the world and redesigned the start of the game just to have some late game things as well. I don't think we added magnet puzzles in the beginning, but I know that there were a couple of times when we had ideas late into the game and had to kind of go back and redo stuff because we wanted it to be earlier in the world as well.
Oh, that had to be a challenge for sure.
Oh, yes.
Well, now that Cathedral is done, I gotta ask you guys, what's next? Or is this a one and done thing, but that would be a shame because you guys are so creative. I'm on the tip of my, like the edge of my seat. I want to see what you guys do next.
Yeah, we might be working on another Metroidvania.
Oh, all right.
It's too early to say anything yet, but I know we have a lot of cool ideas for it. And I think we're trying to take the things we liked with Cathedral that we think worked and trying to kind of iterate on that and trying to get rid of the things that we maybe didn't like as much. And also trying a few more, I don't know, what would you call it, Matthias? New styles, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, we've had enough of the NES palette for a while, I think.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. You need something different, spice it up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah, so there is something in the works, but it's going to take some time.
Hey, you know what? Good things are worth waiting for, right?
Yeah.
I'm anticipating it. I can't wait to see what you guys put out. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So now let me ask you, outside of this project, which you're clearly working on, if you could have any dream project for either of you, what would it be? Like whatever IP you would love to work on, the content creator, the owner of the IP calls you up right now and says, "Hey, we played Cathedral. It's amazing. We want you to work on the next blank." What would it be for you guys?
You have a good idea, Matthias.
What do you say?
Do you have a good idea?
If I have that?
Yeah, because I don't really. I mean, the obvious answers are the really big ones. It's just that I wouldn't have the guts to do so.
No.
The next Metroid, no,
No,
screw
You
that
would
up.
turn it down if Nintendo called you?
Sekiro 2.
Oh, okay. More recent game.
Yeah.
Actually,
Was
Sekiro
designed-
is one of my favorite games.
There you
Really
go.
nice.
That would be great. What about you, Eric? You said Metroid, but you also said you would turn it down. I don't know many people would turn down Nintendo on that.
Not sure I would turn it down, but I would be scared out of my mind. But I mean, no, but okay, Metroid Prime, I think, and I'm saying that this after having played, especially the first one. But Metroid Prime is a series I just really, really love. I would love to do something in 3D. So.
Now you heard it here, Retro. Contact Eric. He wants to work on Metroid Prime 4. So guys, any last message maybe you'd like to convey to the watchers of this? Maybe they've already purchased Cathedral and they can't wait. Maybe they've already played Cathedral, or maybe they're on the fence and they're like, well, maybe is Cathedral the right game for me? What would you like to say?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you like a good challenge, and you like you kind of have to like a good challenge if you're going to play Cathedral, I think. And if you like the style that you see in the screenshots and the trailer, then I think you're going to love the game, because it is really more of that. It's a lot of the classic gameplay. It's basically a mashup of the favorite moments of our childhood games And if you love that kind of game, like say Metroid and Zelda 2 and so on, then yeah, I think you're going to love Cathedral as well.
What about you, Matthias?
Yeah, I think Cathedral is a really fair game. I mean, you never die because the game is unfair. You die because you mess up most of the times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if you really like a challenge, you should play Cathedral.
Well, there you go. You heard it right from the developers. You should
Mm.
play Cathedral. Put that right in the box art right there, Mateus. You should play Cathedral. So for any of you out there that want a little bit more information about Cathedral, you could always go to decemberborn.com. You could check them out on Twitter at Cathedral8bit and at Dborn Games. If you want to see more from Eric and Mateus, you could follow them individually on Twitter at Eric Lavison and at Bazis10. And absolutely, if Cathedral's the type of game for you, premiumeditiongames.com. Right now, as of the time of this interview, we have our Series 3 pre-orders up, so you can purchase Cathedral, the premium edition, which is an open pre-order for $40, or you can go for the retro, which is $60. Great stuff in there, and it's absolutely a game that deserves to be on your bookshelf. Eric, Mateus, I want to thank you both for taking the time to talk with me today.
Well, and thank you. I mean,
it was a pleasure.
Definitely a big thank for making the physical copy a reality.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? The honor is all ours. Thank you for putting your faith in us and for giving us the chance to, deliver to the world the amazing game that is Cathedral. Thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to go to premiumeditiongames.com and get your order in now, and have yourself a wonderful day.